channel here over at SubScribe. I have various other links. Got a mailbox from to send me a comic or something you want me to look at. So if you see somebody like this come into anywhere you are, whatever project you're working on, there's a lot of people who are going to start looking for an exit plan, and you go, oh, what do you mean? Why would you move on from something that's a pretty good gig? Because it's not going to be a good gig for long, and it's a painful decision, but it's better to leave while you're on good terms with everybody. And oh yeah, I just got a different offer from this other company. It's like, it doesn't have to exist, but you're getting out, and everyone is on friendly terms. It's not a problem. It just happened to be that as soon as someone like this shows up, and that's what happens. A lot of times, good people will see this and they will just head for the hills. Okay, so John Trent's what's it called? Park Place. Halo goes full rainbow. Halo Studios community manager implies gamers are istaphobic. Fewer and fewer people care. They keep doubling down on that, and it's like people just go, yeah, okay, whatever. After questions raised regarding employees' embrace of diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. Well, that sounds just gayer than the gay game. So, Halo Soy Boy calls gamers istaphobic, and he virtue signals, and he whines and cries a lot. Let me read his tweet. Junziek says, in nearly a decade of serving in a public and gaming, I never had a passion for question due to my race, religion, gender. Not even after game delays or server outages when I'm out. Well, because they know you didn't get hired because of affirmative action, because of diversity, inclusion, equity policies. They know you probably got hired on merit or maybe nepotism, but they know you're probably the best guy for the job. And you're not incompetent. So that's going to be why you didn't get questioned. Sadly, it's no secret that my experience is far different. That's a hell of a straw man. From many other game developers, especially when compared to developers that happen to come from marginalized communities. Well, everyone can be marginalized. This contrast shows that this is all in his head, too. Contrast shows that we all have work to do to continue. And you sound like just a horrible person to work with. When people like this come in, these poison pills, again, you start looking for an exit strategy. We all have work to do to continue making game development better space for people to do their best work. No, your only goal is to sell games as fast as you can that people want and have a good reputation. And this is how deep in an echo chamber these people are in when they get out there and they say this kind of stuff, and you think, oh, so like, what's the downstream effect of this tweet? What do you mean? You think you might maybe rub people the wrong way, and they go, well, if it doesn't apply, if you're not a bigot, let it fly. It's like, yeah, but then why'd you say it? I mean, it seems like you're attacking someone, as I'll get into. I appreciate how supportive our community has been over the years. Glad to see this continue. Please continue to practice kindness. Be human, he concluded. What an absolute soy boy pussy. So let me explain why it's problematic, anti-white, misandrist, and anti-Christian. Why this is a toxic anti-white attack, what this Frankfurt School useful idiot is doing with all that framing. You got to break it all down. Is he's framing the argument using a Bolshevik technique to manipulate the reader into seeing two classes of people. The beautiful people of the light, the European people, us, and pretty much 100% of this audience, and frame them in a negative light, also male. This is gaslighting, because they're the only ones who are being marginalized and oppressed today. They are the victims of a dehumanizing system, not the perpetrators of it. So his framing is race, religion, sex, implying that he's a European Christian male, and what he really is, I have no idea. I suspect he's not Christian, which is why his framing of it is so twisted. He mentions race, but then he doesn't mention where he's from or what he is. It's just implied that as a fair-skinned person of presumably Europe, he and all Europeans have not been marginalized and oppressed in gaming, or maybe in general. It's a weird blanket statement to make that you would think you wouldn't do to any other group of people. So why would you do it to this other group of people? And that might be his experience, or he might be lying and just virtue signaling. But there's some left-wing hippy-dippy chick in like Sweden or something who was snuggled by a non-Euro, And so when she first reported it, she lied and said it was a a blonde, blue-eyed guy. And then finally the truth came out because she didn't want to get the nuns in trouble. So the problem is European people, and I mean, talk about a mind warp, taking virtue signaling to another level. It's like, if you don't describe the guy, he's going to go out and hurt other women. You get that, right? Oh, yeah, but virtue signaling is more important. The problem is European people are dehumanized and othered by a globalist-controlled anti-white media system that works with corporations and finance to marginalize them, us, the wonderful people. Because Europeans, especially males and Christians, that's the magical trifecta, are the only ones the media and social media will allow to be marginalized and oppressed. The media doesn't go after any other group, blacks, Jews, Arabs, Asians, whatever. Objectively, you can do an analysis and literally see anti-white racism because the media is toxic. It's run by these kind of weirdos. So he frames it as an oppressor-oppressed relationship and implies his community isn't marginalized, though he's very vague about it. He doesn't say specifically what community he's in. He, as an individual, might feel a certain way, but he doesn't speak for a group that he seems to hate, because many European people have been subject to racist discrimination and hatred. They see it accepted in the media all the time, and they're discriminated within corporations. The anti-white hiring practices, like a lot of these corporate people or HR departments or hiring departments, are pretty open in their preference of hiring everyone but people of European descent, who are probably the ones who made the company or the games in the first place. It's the image of, you see a game company start up and it's a bunch of white guys in a garage, and then 10 years later, when it's massively successful, it's top heavy with human resources, which are usually chubby 28-year-old girls who are making TikTok videos, and the company's just not the same because they didn't stick to, they're just suicidally altruistic, which is kind of a thing that we do. So this is an example of gaslighting. This Junziek guy is telling you the opposite of reality, and people have been brainwashed to accept it after a life of anti-white media propaganda. He then says, we all have work to do in this regard. We don't. He and his people have work to do in reaching out to the European people to make them feel welcome and included, because so far they haven't. They've welcomed all these other groups and have been openly anti-white, to the point now where if you see a blue-haired or anyone, a non-white, you can just assume the game and company is pushing woke toxicity, and it's not worth spending your money. And obviously they're doing this to movies, and you've seen movies fall off a cliff. And now they're doing this to video games, and video games are also going to fall off a cliff, to the point where, like, is Ubisoft going to be around in a few years? These game companies that get super woke, because gamers are, it's a higher buy-in point for games, maybe, and they're less politically correct. They're probably coming from the days of group chat, calling each other and their mothers every slur under the sun, and I guess they try to get rid of that. It's like, that's the fun of gaming, is thinking up new and creative. It's studying other cultures, religions, and ethnicities, so you can insult them. You can twist the knife just a little bit deeper. That's the fun of it. So what happened was, you're not going to spend $75. You might, a movie is like $15-20 or something. It's a whole different kind of buy-in point. And gamers, for whatever reason, are just, even if they're on the left, they're still less politically correct than the general public. So they stopped hiring on merit, and now they hire according to the Frankfurt School's hierarchy of essentially darker is better and fair is evil, and the peak person you can straw man blame for everything is going to be someone out of Nordic Central casting. So the work environment falls apart, and the good people leave, and mistakes get made. Everything slows down, and it's late, and it's over budget, and people are arguing, and then they're probably arguing over, like, who's higher on the Frankfurt School oppression ladder. And right now, it's pretty much the trans have put themselves at the top, which is brilliant, because even Dave Chappelle was talking about that, and there's a bunch of other nons on social media who are talking about this phenomenon of fair-skinned people who suddenly identify as all these kind of marginalized and oppressed, and all these, I'm using these buzzwords on purpose, just to be a douche, and they're putting themselves above these people who had for the longest time considered themselves the victims of America, and now they're discovering that they've been moved down the ladder because these other groups have just put themselves above them. Because a lot of the situation is the BLT community are the ones who are writing these articles for magazines, and they're just putting out so much of a narrative. It's honestly, I really respect the hustle of just putting yourself at the top of the most oppressed. In fact, sometimes on Twitter, they refer to themselves as a minority. It's bizarre, and you look at them, you're like, so wait, you're like the Q in all that long letter, all those letters, and what does that actually mean to them? And you kind of parse it out, and it's like, it doesn't really mean anything. It just means they put themselves there. We're questioning or queer. It's like, yeah, but what does that really mean? Oh, when you break it down, it means like, so you're a male who's with a female. Yeah, but I'm non-binary and she or they is non-binary. It's like, but it's still a male and a female, right? I mean, it's just a male parts going inside female parts, and you're making kids. It's like, yeah, we've been doing that for millions of years. We don't need to dress it up. Yeah, but I'm like questioning, and my identity is my struggle. It's like, they think of themselves as like Martin Luther with a staple gun. I almost said Rosa Parks, but that talk about a glow job right from the start. That was maybe Black Pilled will do a deep dive on Rosa Parks or something. The thing is, people kind of associate the company with woke, and for very, that's like 2-point font, for very good reason. And Kotaku's Alyssa Mercante will get on Twitter, and she has been losing her mind. She has like 20,000 people blocked, and she's upset because Musk is kind of being a shitlord, where you block people, and I have a lot of people blocked too, don't get me wrong, because otherwise I'd lose accounts. You block people, but now people can't engage with a tweet, but they can read it. It's like, well, that kind of, we're going to Blue Sky and Mastodon and the Fediverse. Like, if you have 100,000 people on Twitter and you're blue check marked and monetized, you're probably making over $1,000 a month, or you're making a serious chunk of change on Twitter. And so you're going to go to like Mastodon with 1,200 followers and not make anything. Yeah, people have been saying that for the past 2 years since Elon Musk bought Twitter. They're not going anywhere. The thing is that while they lose their mind babbling about diversity, and all the gamers are all Hugo Boss and intolerant, which, half the gamers will give you a Roman salute and say, yes, well, we don't have a problem with that. Except the thing is, like, gamers don't care about any of those Marxist things. And they're just saying things like the OK symbol. They're just saying things to bother these people because they're such sensitive little bitches. They want good products, and, they're spending, I don't know what a game costs, $50 to $100. And they want they know who makes the best products, and they're coming from people who look like you and I. You get a bunch of blonde dudes in a garage together, and they're going to come up with the best product, or Asian males as well. But it's social cohesion works when people are unity is strength, not diversity. Diversity immediately lowers trust and social cohesion, whether it's in a civilization or in a work environment, which is, I mean, like, this as well when you see like these blue-haired people come in and suddenly your top performers are starting to head out the door. It's like, oh, no, it has nothing to do with the blue-haired obese SJW who's, we all went and read her Facebook or Instagram and her Twitter post, and she's obviously hates white men. It's like, oh, no, nothing to do with that. We just got a better offer. Oh, where? It really hasn't. Well, I'm going to take some, like, I'm going to meditate for a few months it's like they just, you just want to get out of the company while you can. And so what happens is these companies, they get further in an echo chamber. And it's like, you saw it happen in the comic industry when they got rid of people like Ethan Van Sciver and a bunch of other people because they had the audacity to have like an American flag and vote for Trump in 2016 or stuff. Gamers don't care about any of those Marxist things. If they're paying $100, they want something good, and they know that white men or Asian men. Men in general are going to make the best product, and that when you get a blue-haired person in there, it's going to have blue-haired Concord and Dustborn types of values. If there's an obese blue-haired diversity manager, if you even have that heavy of a human resources department, then it's the beginning of the end for the company. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.